Hey everybody, welcome to Houdini Hangout. Hopefully you're all doing good today. Sorry, had a little bit of audio there. Yes, a little problem with the last stream. Sorry about that. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, for some reason I had some audio issues. I was out of town yesterday, took my laptop with me, and apparently it didn't want to be set up correctly this time. So anyways, we're back. Hello, hey Ibo, hello, Houseplant and Shadow and everybody, Procedural, hello, K4MYK, nice to see you all here, nice to have you all chatting. Yeah, so like I said, it was a little bit of audio issues. Thanks for sticking around and being here. Hey Zach, how's it going? Yeah, so we are here. Hope you're doing well. Starting off May. Oh, no problem. Thanks for viewing them, Shadow. I appreciate it. Even if you're watching them after the fact, it's pretty cool. Oh, cool. I'm glad you thought the last stream was good. We'll see what this week's going to be. It's going to be a little bit of a different thing for me to do, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah. Anyways. Hope you're having a great day. I was lucky enough to be up in Toronto earlier in the week, and yeah, got to actually judge an animation contest that was happening for the Ontario. Oh man, I can't even think of what it is. Provincial stuff. I feel like my microphone is really low right now. Hold on a second. Let me see what is going on here. There it is. I think that's it. Maybe it's a little better now, maybe not. I don't know. Let me see here. Why is my microphone so low? Mic is good? Okay. It just seems like it's low on my end, but I'll take your word for it. Cool. Yeah, so I've heard much lower. I mean, is mine usually louder? I feel like it normally is, so, but I don't know. Audio is the worst. I hate it. I've always hated it. All right. Anyways, yeah, I got to be up in Ontario judging some an animation contest that was for actually for high schoolers, which was really cool. And they were very impressive work that they did. Then I got to go to the side effects office for the day, which was really nice, and got to see a bunch of people there. And yeah, so that's why we're doing things today, because I was out of town yesterday. So yeah, that's the. They weren't actually using Houdini. They were using all sorts of different stuff, but they weren't using Houdini specifically for that. So yeah. It wasn't a Houdini specific thing, but just sometimes nice to have, you know, we're a Ontario based company. So it's nice to be involved with stuff that's going on locally. And yeah, it's nice for them to hear about, you know, Houdini side effects, stuff like that. So there was also a guy from Unreal there that was judging it, but they weren't using Unreal either. So, you know, it's one thing or another. Ibo asked a question. What did I think about the Claude implementation in Blender and the backlash that happened? So I think it wasn't so much that Claude was being implemented in Blender. It was that people didn't like that Claude was making this, like, was basically becoming a huge donor. I think that was more of the issue. And well, it was actually Anthropic. Technically Claude is their product. What do I think of it? I think it's good for people to let what they think be known. I think it's good for us to be able to push back on things when we don't want to have them somewhere, you know, have influence of things that we don't find morally, ethically, technologically interesting or useful, being shoved down our throats. I, for one, have never used any of the AI LLM stuff. Don't plan to. Yeah, that's my take on it. I think it's interesting. I think it's a good thing for people to make their voices heard if they are unhappy with the direction of something. Side effects always welcomes people's opinions and feedback. We have open RFEs and open tickets and things like that. So I think a company should listen to what their users are saying and act accordingly. I don't think it was something where they were going to implement some sort of AI thing in their software. Didn't really seem to be the case, but certainly it's good for people to let them know, like, hey, please don't do what certain other some software companies that start with A have done, and just try to make everything AI. That's kind of a silly path forward, especially from a business standpoint. I don't see how that's a good long-term business plan to put everybody out of job. But hey, whatever. So yeah, that's my take on it. I mean, yeah, I think there's a place for machine learning and stuff like that, and I think there's a place for that type of quote unquote AI that's been around for a really long time. I think it's really good, but I have a lot of moral, ethical, whatever you want to say, qualms with some of the other stuff. So, probably an more and more unpopular opinion as the days go by, but I'm entitled to my opinion, I guess, right? So, anyways, yeah. Hey, Claude, delete the default cube. There was a funny thing that I saw that somebody had done, like, let an agentic AI basically have access to their database, and the agent basically just deleted their database for some reason, and it was like screaming, it was like yelling in all caps at them and stuff like that. It was a very entertaining thing, and it was like a car sales company or something, or it was a car rental company, like software company that like powers like some like bespoke small car rental businesses, and it just like deleted everything. Oh, cool. Yeah, deleted the backups as well. It was just so funny. It was like, never effing guess was like the thing that it screamed at it, and it was like, just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that's an interesting little comment there. I see someone posting something in the chat there. This is an English channel, so I am going to unfortunately get blocked there because I don't know what that says, and I can't know what that says, and I'm sorry if you were trying to say something nice, but I cannot moderate something that I cannot translate. Sorry. Anyways, cool. Well, enough talk about this stuff. Let's talk about some Houdini stuff. Let's get into some fun things. So my plan for tonight, removed. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Anyways, the plan for tonight is to try to do something random, and I have, excuse me, as I dip out of frame, I have a headphone bag full of these little dice that my wife has. So there's these, I posted a picture of them on the Discord server. If you're interested in joining the Discord server, you can go to houdinihangout.com. You can get a link to the Discord server that way and join up. And yeah, lots of people on there chatting and talking and things like that. And yeah, you can always, if you have like more in-depth questions with pictures and things like that you'd like to bring up there, you can always do that. But so yeah, so I showed a picture of those on the Discord server, and yeah, so what I think we're gonna do is we're gonna pick out a couple of these random dice and see what we can get up to. It's almost like kind of like the Houdini battle, and I obviously have veto rights if one of these is ridiculous or something, but yeah, so you get a little ASMR stuff here. All right, I'm going to pull one of these out and see what we can get here. I'm never gonna do cops, am I? Well, maybe I'll have to. I don't know. Maybe. Never gonna do cops. Okay, let's see here. So I have some dice, and I picked this one out. So let's see here. I also have, oh no. That is really annoying. I forgot to save this camera. Give me 1 second, because I have a camera here that I added in. There we go. Let's see. This was called think that was the name of it. Let's see. Yes, it looks like it was. Okay. Rolling the dice. Okay, we got another. Okay, interesting. Anyways, we have a random camera here that you can actually see my desktop here. This is a little bit of a different view, so you're not just watching me have to do this without a camera. So this is the first time I've ever had another camera angle. So here we go. Let's see what we get. Okay, interesting. Got an airplane so far. Okay, airplane. Let's see. Let's see here. Pick another one. This one. All right, let's see what we can get for this one. Might roll 3 and then pick 2 of them or something. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, that's a funny 2 in a row. Snake. So I got a snake and an airplane. So it looks like, oh, my keyboard. Yeah, that's it's a Keychron. I actually got it as a gift from a friend, which was very nice. But they're very nice. I like them a lot. I've gotten very snakes on a plane. Yeah, I'm gonna do the whole snakes on a plane movie today. All right, so let's grab one more here and see what we can get. Okay, interesting. Well, these are the 3 that I got, and I'm not really sure what we're gonna do with them. Sorry. There we go. So we got a cactus, a snake, and a plane. And these are supposed to be like creativity dice, basically. And reroll. We think those are pretty lame. No, I think these are kind of interesting. I could definitely do something with them. You know, actually I have I was making a cactus the other day. Interesting. I do think it's interesting. What could we do with this? All right. So anyways, sorry, I'll go back to my face here. So we've got, again, as a reminder, those are what we have here. We have a snake, a cactus, and a plane. Let's see. I kind of wonder if I couldn't make some tea out of the cactus. What does that even mean? Make tea out of that cactus. Like actual like drinking tea, huh? That'll help you. Oh, like is that like a reference to a like some sort of like, looks like a Pedro. I don't know what that means. I'm guessing that's not like some sort of like, cause I know like that there's like some desert thing that's like ayahuasca or something like that. You're not talking about that, are you? Sorry, I'm looks like a San Pedro cactus. Oh, maybe there you go. You make tea out of those? I don't know. I don't know what's happening here, but a plane that bends like a snake avoiding the cactus. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, I honestly think we could make like a little cactus, see how we would like procedurally model that. And then maybe we could try to throw that into, make that like, yeah, I'm not sure how this is all going to work together. You know, maybe I'm going to re-roll these 2. I'm going to re-roll these because I like the cactus idea. I think we can make a cactus. But I want some other options. So let's see. Let's see here. We're gonna do some other options here. Sorry, this is taking a second, but this is a test run. It's a test. We're gonna roll these 2 real quick. Okay, I got the plane again, but I got this here, which is like, sorry, this, which is like some sort of like explosion or something like that. Let me re-roll this and see if that gets anything. Ooh, a flashlight. Okay, so now we've got something a little bit more interesting here. We've got a flashlight. We've got a little like explosion, and we've got the cactus. All right, so I'm gonna use, sorry, this is really weird to like hold these things up. Anyways, yeah, the cactus could grow, but I think we could also do, oh, all the faces of it? Sure. They're really fun. Hold on, let me grab sorry. They're called story cubes. That's what they are. And let they are like, there's all sorts of different stuff on them, like a ray gun, snake, a map, a little explosion. It's like a whip, I think, and then a crown. So yeah, I think there's like, I don't know, there's a bunch of them in here. I don't know how many of them there are. She's got like 2 boxes of them, but you can see here, there's all sorts of different things here. So lots of different story cubes. So anyways, kind of fun. I don't know. I figured it was worth a shot. Maybe not the best experience, but hey, we're gonna give it a try. Hey, Johan, how's it going? Hello, hello. All right, stop with all these crazy loud dice. Put them back in my little bag here, and then we can go. Yeah, maybe I'm trying to think. We could do something interesting with like something lighting up on the cactus, like maybe like have some like something animated across it, lighting up, or yeah, cool. Let's try that. Let's do that. All right, let us head over to Houdini and get going here. All right, so, all right, let's do a cactus first and foremost here. This should be fairly straightforward. So, let's see here. So let's do a start. Hello? Let's do a geometry node. I got the overview here by accident. Okay. Let's say geo cactus. And let's just grab a line first of all. We can use that for the main trunk of this. I want to say that those kind of cactuses are fairly tall. They're like several feet, like they're much taller than a person. I feel like a person's like half their height, probably, which would make them like 4 meters probably. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do a length of 4 because like if we put template body in here and template it, yeah, I think that seems about right. Okay, cool. So let's do this, and why don't we do we can just do a sweep. Yeah, I thought that's about right. Are you from the Southwest, Maitland? Is that why? You seem like you know about cactus, so that's pretty cool. Guessing you must be from the Southwest of the US, maybe? Maitlands apparently are no, there's a bunch of them in California. Okay, interesting. So you must be in, or must have been in California, or are in California. Cool. Anyways, all right. So we've got our sweep here. I think what I'm gonna do, let me see here. I know there's one called saguaro cactus, but there might also be one called, what did you call that one? Called it something. San Pedro cactus. Let's see what that is. San Pedro cactus. Oh, okay. So the San Pedro cactus are these guys here. And then if we do a saguaro cactus, they look like so. So these are saguaro, these are San Pedro. Interesting. I think I'm gonna do this one just because it's it's like slight bit more like got those little arms and stuff. But these are cool too. These are like little bunches almost. It's kind of neat. When I was a little kid, I actually got pricked by a they could grow up to 4 meters. That's crazy. That is wild. When I was a little kid, I like leaned into a cactus in like a schoolroom or something like that. Really bad. It was horrible. Horrible experience. Do not recommend. Okay. So just as a reminder here, these have these ridges. So let's do that. What we could do here is we could use actually we could probably use the labs simple shapes here and do like a little star or something like that. Yes. And we could say the inner radius. Something like that. And then throw this into the cross section and say second input cross section. The only problem is this is in the wrong axis. So this needs to be, can never remember what axis this needs to be in, but I'm going to guess it's going to need to be in this axis. Oh no, I bet you it's in the Z axis. Sorry. Let me do that. Yeah, there we go. Cool. And what I could do is I could say dissolve flat edges, I think, as well. Might give us just the clean outside shape. Yep, there we go. Cool. Or maybe I could have just said not closed. That's possible too, but I think that's actually going to make it open now, so I don't really particularly want that. So I'm going to keep it closed. Okay, cool. So we've got our sweep here. Foot a year, not a month. Okay. Maybe I read that wrong. Oh, I see. All right. So this thing's 4 foot tall here, or 4 meters tall. So let's change the cross section scale a little bit here. And I'm going to make a few more points on this thing, I think. So something like that. And then we'll do the inner radius a little bit more, like so. Outer radius can just be 1. Cool. All right, so we've got this thing going, but what we need to do is we need to have it kind of scale in a nice way. Let's see if I can find a nice, yeah, like this one's kind of cool. So we kind of want it to start in and get, yeah, so it kind of comes out a little bit and then tapers up and then rounds at the top. So let's do that. Let's do an end cap that is, well, actually, yeah, we can do an end cap that's a grid like so, and that's going to round it up at the top and at the bottom. Kind of unfortunately at the bottom, but that'll be quote unquote underground, so we don't need to worry about that too much. The sweep and super formula shapes, is that a thing in here? Oh, what are these? Sorry, didn't know what these were. Cool. Interesting. Yeah, I guess it's kind of the same thing. It's very similar. Yeah, it is about the same as the simple shapes. The only thing I'm not liking here is that for some reason it's doing some weird normal stuff with this, I think. Is this a Bezier? No, it's a polygon. Well, anyways, this one was working fine. Very similar idea. I'm just gonna go with this. You have to use a normal node, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna use this one because it's working just fine. But yeah, it's a great point. I didn't know Roy did a cactus demo on that, so cool. Good to know. All right, so what we can do is we can do apply the scale along the curve. And what we need to do here is we would need to add some points to this, right? Because it's not going to scale really. So let's do this and this and bring this down a little bit here as well, like that. But we need more points here, so let's add some more. We'll just kind of give this a good little bit of points. I don't know, 40 seems fair. And let's come into the sweep here and oh, okay, you made a cactus kind of like the crazy uncle setup. I see. Cool. Let's see here. Let's turn these into Beziers. We're gonna click there. And now we can kind of adjust these a little bit nicer. I can make this a little bit bigger here. I do really appreciate that these Beziers have been kind of nicely updated for us. So I think we're going to do something like this here maybe, and maybe we'll pull this back a little bit more. Something like that. Cool. All right. We've got a little shape there like so. You can also, I think, adjust the shape by adjusting the P scale of this line, I'm pretty sure. But we'll just do it this way. This way's fine. Okay, so we've got that, and we need to, I'm gonna close this one just so I don't have to keep guessing which one I'm clicking on here. Then we're gonna grab a couple of these guys here, and let's make those. Can I make this bigger? Yeah, there we go. That's nice. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so we've got our geometry here, and I'm just gonna say, make a null here, just so I know kind of what I'm defining here. So I'm gonna call this trunk. Actually, I'm gonna capitalize this, trunk spline. And this can be the, say out trunk geo. Color these guys up just so I know what I'm doing here. Okay, so there's our trunk geo. Now what we can do is kind of place these these points. You know, we want these things to branch out, right? We want these pieces to be coming off of it. So we can place those kind of at this widest section here. So what we should be able to do here is, well, I guess what I probably should do is do minimum and maximum. I should actually use P-scale on this, because then I can use the minimum maximum of that to pull out the exact point where these are going to attach. So let's do that instead of this. So let's look at a different method here. Let's do attribute adjust float. What I can do is I can actually just, this is already set to P-scale. I can say remap, and I can just copy this. So I can copy this parameter, paste the values into here, and that's great. And then I'm just going to leave that and just make sure that this is flat, I think. Okay. I thought there was a way to, if I take this out, does that? That's really strange. I really thought there was a way of doing that. Oh, right. I have to, this is not actually putting any P-scale in there. It's just putting it at one value. That's right. Thank you. Sorry. Apparently my brain is not working well. Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this resample down because we want to grab this curve U attribute here. And this will actually give us an attribute here to kind of work along. And so now this P-scale won't all be exactly the same. And we can go in here and grab curve U for our source attribute. I think now it's going to work. Yep. That was what was not working here. I just missed one step. Thank you, Maitland. So yeah, so what we need to do is basically have this curve U attribute, which starts at 0, goes all the way up to 1. We can actually visualize that real quick if we want to, just to show you what's going on here. So there's our curve U, but just to see it even a little bit more, distinct, we can kind of see that it starts at 0 and it goes all the way up to 1 at the top here. And so what that's going to do is we're going to map that value to this ramp here that's going on. So as we go from 0 to 1, these values are going to get placed onto this. So now you can see that the P scale changes. And so there, as we go through this and come down here, we should have these different P scale values. And that's great. And actually what we could do from this is we could find the maximum P scale and then kind of make a scatter based on that. What we could also do is take our trunk and scatter from that as well. So it kind of depends on how you want to make these come off of it. You could have them kind of coming from the surface or from the root inside. Kind of up to you, I guess, how you'd want to do that. But so what we could do is we could take, there's a labs min max average that we have. And so we can take this and actually it'll give us like the maximum basically of a certain attribute. And we're going to take a point attribute. That's going to be P scale. And so if we do that and look at our detail attribute, we can see here that 0.9992 is going to be the maximum. It's not working for me. The P scale is not changing on the attribute adjust float. So what you need to do is come down here. So as long as you have this remap attribute, you need to come down here to your source attribute and use curve U. And the resample up here is actually what's outputting that curve U. You don't actually even need this to be doing any like resampling itself. We can just turn some of those things off. No problem. You don't have to, no worries. I appreciate it. I may have kind of glossed over that. Wasn't talking very well during that because I was trying to figure out why it wasn't working. But anyways, no, all good. Thanks, Joey. Glad to have you bring up that note. So anyways, here you can see we have our maximum P scale, and now we could use this value however we might want. We could use it to basically scatter a bunch of points at the position, or add a bunch of points at that specific position. There are a lot of things that we could obviously do there. So I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm actually going to do it from the surface, actually. So let's keep it this way, and let's do a scatter. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use, we're going to convert kind of our scatter over to a value. Now, we don't actually really need this now that I'm thinking about it, because we can just kind of remap this, this P scale attribute. And this P scale attribute I promoted by coming into here, into our UV and attributes. And in here, it's set these little things, these little like caret, so if I do caret P scale, that is saying don't let P scale come through from the backbone curve. But if I undo that, it will bring in P scale from this curve, basically. At least it should. It was a second ago. What's it doing? There we go. Okay, weird. So anyways, what we could do is just take, we could just say, we could do an attribute remap here. And we could just compute, take the original name, not curve U. We want, oh, right. I know why, because this is actually removing the attribute at this stage. I think. What did I do? I broke it. All right. Let me get rid of this again. There we go. Not sure why that was happening. Okay, now we've got the P scale. We can bring that in here. So P scale, what I did basically is I reset these backbone curves back to their default and just removed P scale again from it. I don't know, undoing it freaked something out. Okay, so what we can do here is we could compute the range and do all that kind of stuff, and then map that from 0 to 1, like so. We could always adjust these things as well, and we can visualize these in the viewport. Now, really what I want to do is really tightly kind of pack this around that one value. But the nice thing here is we could actually kind of adjust this. So this could be a nice like way to, oops, let me bring these back. Here we go. So bring this back in like so, and that's kind of our p-scale range that we're adjusting. What we can do is we can call this density now, and this will be our density value. And so it'll be basically high just in this one little area. We can visualize that again. There we go. And then this scatter, we can tell it to pick up the density attribute and only scatter there. So we could say like 6 scatters at this stage, basically. And we can come in here and we can then really refine these down to just a very small little area where it's possible for these things to scatter, right? And so if we look at these, they're scattering from the surface. What we probably want to do is have it pull out the normal from these. And so with that in mind, we can just add a normal to this geometry here, maybe before that. And now we should have these scattered points with normals based on kind of what direction they are going in from the surface here. But the only maybe bad thing about this is that we're pulling these normal values from the surface, right? And so if we look at this and these are slightly off axis, and most of them are going to be because it's not a circle, they're going to go in some really strange directions. So if we want to update that and make that a little bit nicer, there's probably a couple ways we could do that. One really easy way would be to do a little, instead of having these normal attributes be defined by the surface, we could just do a quick point wrangle here. And I'm actually going to say, I'm going to remove n from this because I don't actually want the normal to come through. So this is on the scatter. I'm just going to remove n from that so it doesn't bring that over. And here I can just say, I can actually pull in, the trunk spine here and bring that down. And from that, I could calculate the position of that. I'm trying to think if there's even a better way of doing this. There might be, I think, because it's going to take a little bit of vex to do it, which is fine. Not going to be too scary, but just trying to think. I think I've done stuff like this before, and what I've done is I've had it do random positions kind of on the, like as a plane, and have them rotate a bunch of different ways. Could also do a convex hull and attribute transfer the normals. That's a good point. Could do that. Could do that. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I like that. Better than, sometimes I think a lot of people are too quick to jump into Vex, and I think that's a good option. Let's try it. All right. So let's do this. Let's do a convex hull. Should work for this. There we go. All right, let's do that. And should be able to do normals from that. And then if we attribute transfer well, actually, I'll do this as a point. Oh, did the wrong thing. Here, points. Doing things too quick. All right, and I think we're getting normals now. And that looks like that is going to be a much nicer looking direction. Definitely. Great. Thanks, Johan. Awesome, awesome suggestion. So what we did there, we did a convex hull, which basically just wraps a geometry around this, whatever shape you feed it, right? So now we've got this completely smooth surface with the original polygonal, like all of the points encapsulated inside of it. Then we added obviously just a normal, and then transferred that over. And so now we've got some points to work with there. And I'm going to remove this because we're actually not using it. Bring that up. Great. Okay. So now I've got some points. All we need to do is grab another line, and we can do this in the, I want to say in the Z direction is what we need this to be, so that it goes along that. So let's grab these both, do a copy to points. Yes, that seems right. And so if we take those points, and if let's add some more points to that line, do something like 20. And if we take this and add a bend to it, we could very easily make this work. And I am just going to tweak this. Oh no, that's right. Capture direction, capture origin is what I want to change. I'll just move this a little bit that way maybe, and then just adjust that, and we can do the bend angle here. And let's just make sure it's bending upwards, which it should be. Yep, cool. The only bad thing here is that we are getting some weird motion, like kind of curvature with those, which is interesting, but I don't hate it. Gives us a little bit of randomization. I can live with that. What you would actually probably want from these is having an up and, basically a orthographic. You'd basically want to create an orient for these if you wanted like full control over them, but this is fine. It's going to work just fine. So let's take a look at that with our main stem here. And actually the bend needs to be quite a bit back. So let's do that. Let's kind of come in here, tweak that a little bit more. Maybe something like that. And maybe we won't have it bend. I don't know. Whoa, hey, cool. Let me just see what these look like here. Yeah, they don't bend all the way in. So let's do these at like, I don't know, something like 85, something like that. Cool. All right. So we've got these like random cactus things going on here. Let's make these things a little bit longer. I think maybe like that. The only thing that I don't love is that these are all kind of a little bit too far away from each other. So let me just come back over to this scatter. Let's just change the relax iterations a little bit. I think we don't want to push them apart so far. In fact, maybe don't push them apart really at all. That's pretty good. I guess we could do one. Just kind of tweak this a little bit here and see where we get to. Yeah, maybe like that is kind of cool. The other thing we could do is we could adjust these things here and just kind of tweak these a little bit. Oh, right. So this is kind of a issue here. Now what we could do is instead of doing it from the P scale, we could actually do it from the curve U, compute the range here, and we could just have, yeah, this is actually much better. Let's see here. So what I would need to do is this, I think. Yep, just do this. Ah, yes, your arms are pointing upside down. Interesting issue. Yeah, so what we would need to do is give it an up. So I guess we could probably, that's gravity, mate. Yeah, let's try that. Just trying to think here. I think if we just do this, if we just do this one, we can do with a point angle. If we just add in a v at up, so we're going to do an up vector. If we just set this to be 0, 1, 0, think that should help us out here a little. Let's see. Yep, I think that's going to do it. Can get an orient off of a curve SOP. Yeah, there's a couple different ways. Yeah, sure. I guess you could. Yeah, this way works fine too. We can just kind of throw an up vector in there, and that should keep this from jumping around too much. So try that out, and that should hopefully kind of do what we're looking for here. Just gonna play around with these a little bit, see if we can't get some better randomization of these. Yeah, that's pretty good. Cool. Great. Now we're getting somewhere. All right, so we've got our little arms here that are kind of pointing upwards. If you wanted to do those at a different length, what you would have to do is a for each loop. And then you could feed in some values into this line here to tell it how long it should be. You could also adjust the bend per, loop. And for that, you would do a for each point. And you would bring these in, put this down into here, this like this. Yes, you would do this, and this is basically doing the same thing. It's just doing the for each 6 times, or it's doing this copy to point 6 times. And what you can do is each iteration, you can bring this, you can add this meta node, basically just by clicking this create meta import node. It'll create this, and this gives you the iteration, number of iterations, blah, blah, blah. And what we could do over here is we could do the length, which I have at like 1.75. So, okay, a couple questions in the chat, which I think are both very valid. So, there's a carve by attribute now. You can give it a random value per prim and feed it to the carve. Yeah, you could do that, sure. If you wanted something that's a little bit more like, there's stuff you could do a lot more than that, right? So what we could do is, like for example, let's say we wanted to bend these each a different amount, right? That's not something you can easily do there. We can do that with this for each. But first of all, let me talk about what the v at up is doing here. So this v at up, what it's doing is it is giving another vector that this can work with. It's maybe a little hard to see like that. Maybe if I change my background to dark gray, you might be able to see it a little bit better if I turn this off. Okay, there we go. So now we have these normals. The normals are in light blue and the up is in this yellow color. Let me just make those a little smaller so that they both are at the right scale or similar scale. That's not right either. What is it supposed to be at? Sorry. Let me see here. Maybe at 0.2. Okay. So now we have these two vectors in our as attributes, right? And so what this is going to do now is allow it to actually calculate kind of this like, it gives us this orientation frame or like a rotational matrix that it can create from these two attributes and basically figure out like, okay, now we know a set up point and we have this set like normal direction. So the normal direction is going to be the Z axis of whatever you're copying to it. The up axis is going to be the Y axis. And then it is going to do, it's going to create a, basically like an orientation from this. And actually I'm just trying to remember what that's actually going to look like here. It would basically, I think if I do, sorry, I'm just trying to remember here. this. Yep. So what it should do is create another vector that's kind of pointing out in this direction, right? I think it's in this direction. I could be wrong. Probably am wrong. Might be the other direction. But regardless, it creates an orthogonal to this kind of plane that's happening here. So each of these are going to get a different, axis that's going to be basically like, like this, basically. So it's making these little frames in here. So, so that is what having that up axis is allowing you to do. And this is, you can actually calculate that all of those yourself if you do across like 2 cross products basically. And that's just like a little bit of linear algebra math stuff that works. So anyways, that's what the up is doing. Can a random range p-scale on scatter points work? You could, yes. You could certainly have that. It just won't allow for some of these same values. So, or the same kind of look. I'm just going to turn these off just so we're not visualizing those. But okay, here. So like, for example, if I did just do an attribute adjust float, I'm just going to throw this down here and just let this be random between 0 and 1, right? And so, yeah, we're going to be able to get these these random scales here, and that's all going to be fine. I'm actually not sure why oh, these already have a p-scale coming in, right? They do. I'm just going to do an attribute delete here. Like, why are those so gigantic? Just move these around. We're going to delete the p-scale before here, and then we'll grab it. This will be here, and we should be good. Okay, there we go. Much better. So now you can see that these are just like these random scales, right? And they can go all the way down to 0, go up to a really high value. But I mean, that's definitely not what we want, right? We don't want a tiny little thing here. What we want to do is have this be a certain length, not a scale from this point, right? So like as you scale those up and down from that point, you can see here that they're going to like grow outwards like that. And that's most of the time probably not what you really want for this. You would want them to be different lengths. Now, yes, you can do a carve, and I think, like you said, there is no, it wouldn't be carve. It would be clip, and you can do that by an attribute. So you could take this and yeah, you could have a random value that you would clip these at, basically clip by a random attribute. But what you can do with this setup here is kind of a little bit different. So you can take, like, for example, we could bend these at a different amount for each of them. And so what I can do is I could come in here and I could say, I could write a little function and say, grab the detail attribute of that node, which is just going to be up 1 level. And we're going to go for each metadata. And then, so that's the surface node. And then the attribute name is just going to be iteration. So we're just going to do this and say iteration. And then we can say 0. We just need the 0th index of it. Now, it just flattened them all out. And they're just very, very small amount. And we're going from basically 0 to 5 here. So we're grabbing the iteration number, right? So what we could do now is we could say random based on this detail attribute, right? And so this is going to give us a random value. Now it's going to be honestly even smaller because this is a random value between 0 and 1, but they're all getting random based on the input number. So what we could do now is we could say fit 0, 1, just because we have a random 0 to 1 value. And we're going to just say like this. Like, so basically what you do is you do fit 0, 1 with the number that we're fitting, and then a new minimum and a new maximum. So we could say, if we wanted to go between 60, oops, I'm going to do that. 60 and 85, let's just say. There we go. Now we're going between 60 and 85 for each of these different values, right? Let me just pull this up here so you can take a look at what this actually looks like. Make this a little bigger. So what we're basically doing here is we're grabbing that detail attribute right here. So we're getting the for each begin metadata 1. We're taking the iteration value, and that's just index 0. There's only one of them. And then we can randomize that, right? So we're just randomizing this whole value here, right? And then we're putting that random value into a fit and fitting it between 60 and 85. And that's what's giving us this value here. If we went even lower here, let's say we went between 0 and 85, oops. Now you'll see that these are going to have kind of various levels of flatness. And this really is not something that you could do outside of this for each kind of concept, right? So something to keep in mind there. You could also then take this same thing right here, this for each iteration, right? And what we could do is actually copy this whole thing. We might want to add a little offset to this. So I'll show you how to do that in a second here. So let's just apply this and close it. Let's come over to this line and we can change the length of it. So it's 1.75. So let's just paste that same value in here. We'll bring this up in the editor here. And this is going between 0 and 85, which we definitely don't want. So we could do that before. Sorry, I was just reading a chat there. So with this, we could do, let's see. Let's just do like 1.25 to 1.75, something like that. And so now we should have the same thing where these are like different lengths basically. And maybe I'll extend it just a little bit more just to make it a bit more obvious between 1 and 2. But the other problem that we're getting here, sorry, let me change this bend one as well because I think we're a little bit low here. So let's do 70 to 85. That should be good. So now we're getting these random bends, but we want to have it different for this, for the distance attribute. So what we can do is we can take this random value right here, we could take the iteration value, that's this detail attribute here. So we could take this detail, right, blah, blah, blah. And then we could just give it a random offset. So we could just say 35. And that is just going to randomize this offset here. And so this is going to act like a seed for us. And yeah, so now we're going to get some different values for these. And there we go. So Johan just said a cheap way without the loop would be to compute the cross product to get the third axis. With an attribute adjust vector, rotate the normal randomly by the primitive. Okay. Yes. So you're saying basically instead of bending these a different amount, because like this is actually something, I mean, it's changing the way that it's bending. So it's I see what you're saying. You could do it a little bit cheaper that way. You could just cheaply just kind of deflect these a little bit in their direction. So yeah, I mean, it would be a little bit of a different, yeah, it's not the same, but certainly that's a cheaper way of doing it for sure. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to think of how it was the same. I was like, I don't think that's exactly the same, but no, that's a good point. It's a cheaper, it's a little bit less involved of a method, but I actually don't think that this is all that complicated, honestly. Because yes, it's a for each loop and that's like starting to like break into some weird technical stuff. But I certainly think that this is nice. And we used to have this thing called copy stamping, basically. And this method replaces that. And is actually fairly fast. I don't really see it as like a huge slowdown. And if you did it the right way, you explained it well. I just don't like loops. That's good. Okay, fair. I really like loops. And the cool thing you could actually do is you could actually compile this and then it's multi-threaded and all that stuff. But anyways, so that is what we've got there. So what we could do is we could take the same thing here, copy that, paste it down here. And yeah, I mean, now granted, these are probably too big. Let me see here. So that's the trunk geometry. I'm just going to move this over a little bit and then we can just say, I'm just going to merge these together. All right. Oops. Missed the dot. Okay. So we can merge these together like that. What did I do here? Seems like this is a little bit weird. I actually don't like how deep that is. There we go. And the scale of those are gigantic. So let's adjust this. Do we have P scale on these? Is that what's happening here? No, we don't. Visualize the density on the merge so it's colorful for me. Like that? Woo. Okay. So let's put some normals on these because these are getting funky. Okay. Those are too thick. So let's adjust those. And let me just look at these again. Yeah, they definitely need to scale as we go down them. So let's do a resample again here. And you can just do a curve U on these. Does the reason start with an H and end with S and end with an H? I don't I don't know what that means. S and an H. Okay. Well, maybe I'm just missing something here, but that's okay. Pretty common. All right, let me adjust this again here, like so. And let's scale these guys a little bit because they are way too big. So we've got our curve view here, and we're gonna do a remap. And let's see, we're gonna use curve view, go to P scale. Let's compute the RAM. Oh, that's funny looking. All right, let's do this and this. Stefan? Oh, okay. I see. I see. Loops are evil. Huh. I mean, I guess. I don't hate loops. Let's see here. What's going on with this? Why are our points? Okay. Oh, right, because my resample's on. I was like, why is that? What is happening here? It was my resample. Wasn't the number of points in that. It was my resample. Let's see here. And these are doing some weird stuff. So let's put those into Bezier's. Junky. All right, let's just kind of play around with these a little bit. See how this is looking. Not too bad. I mean, could certainly do better, but well, I'm sorry if I'm trying to introduce you to the evil world of loops, but here we are. All right, I'm actually going to make these with a little less points because I feel like I want them to look similar to the... Whoa. That was weird. What is it doing there? Huh. me see here. I just want them to look kind of similar in... Oh, I must have something weird going on with my normals here. There, that's what it is. I was like, what is happening here? Okay, there we go. Much better. Yeah, I just want these to look, they're kind of the same, I guess. Cool. Nice, nice, nice. All right, so we've got that done. Our little procedural tree, or a little procedural cactus going on here. Let's do some spines on this thing. And the cool thing here is we could actually come in here and tweak this a little bit if we wanted to, and see if we can get a little better distribution of those arms. There we go. I like that a little bit better. I feel like it was a little close, a little too mushed together, but cool. There's our arms for this guy. Let's give it some spines, I guess. So what we could do here is, let's see, because we've actually got these internal like little bits that are coming out of this. So let's do a Boolean. And if you really wanted to get fancy with this, right? So this is in a Boolean union, if we do it like this. If you really wanted to get fancy, you could, well, I'm trying to zoom this like some sort of, I think where loops can get evil is when people nest them 3 deep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you don't want to do too many crazy things, but if you wanted to get really fancy, you could kind of get into this stuff here where you're like pushing it out based on them being close to each other or adjusting the geometry of it, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to do that just because we only have so much time. So we'll try to keep that a little bit more isolated here. So we've got these arms, and oh, I should also output, or just give myself a node, a null for the arm spliners, right? Is that what I call them? Trunk spline, arm splines. Yep. So what we could do is we could just do an object merge down here and just get splines, something like this. And we'll just grab this, accept, do another one, grab the trunk spline, and then we've got our 2 splines in there. Hi, username taken. I don't know what that means, but welcome to the stream. Oh man, seems like I'm getting some weird, some different comments today than usual, so that's interesting. Okay, so we've got this. I'm just gonna call this, we're gonna add another null here just to give ourselves something else we might want to use. We're gonna call this out merged surface, maybe? Good enough name? Because this is all merged, so if we want to use that, that'll be good. All right, let's do another scatter here, and we can scatter a bunch of points onto this. Now, the reason I wanted to make sure I was using the merge surface is because if I did this from the surface up here, you'll see that it's possible, although I don't really see it happening too much, but you can get tried to get a new Proton address. All the variations of my name are taken. That's, wow. That's interesting. What is Proton? I don't even know what that is. I think it's, or wait, is that like a security, like a security focused like thing or something? I feel like it is. All right. So let's look at another option for these. What we could do is... Let's see here. I'm just trying to think. Let's grab another line. This is going to be a short little one because we're going to do some spikes, some spines. So we'll do like... Someone is securely impersonating you. Oh, that's funny. I have I don't have the most unique name in the world, but yeah, I don't meet a lot of Peters, but yeah, I'm sure you meet, if your first name is Maitland, I'm guessing you meet a lot less Maitlands. But all right, let's do a copy to points here and throw this up. And we should see that we're getting a bunch of spines that are going all over this. I think the only thing that we're going to run into here is that there is a p-scale on those surfaces. So we might want to attribute delete that. So I'm going to do an attribute delete here. Just take the p-scale off of it. Maybe. Honestly, probably the easiest thing to do would just be to reset it down here. So I'll do an attribute adjust float because that is already set to p-scale. I'm just going to say set always, and we'll set the value to 1. There we go. Now we've got our spikes going all sorts of different, every which way. Okay, so we've got these little spines that are coming off of it. So let's do a... Let's actually do a clip here so that we're not running into the issue of some changing it to 0, 1. So it's facing up and down. I'm just clipping it. I'm going to clip it a little above the ground plane here, just so we're not getting spikes that are like underground here. Here's our merge surface. And like, we'll just keep the spikes to be above the ground. And I'm going to do something sort of similar here with this and do another bend, but this is just going to be like a really light bend just to make these spikes sort of an interesting shape of some type. Let me just go out of that. And what we could do is we could set the capture region and just snap, turn the snapping on, snap there, Then we've got the capture region. Need to add some points so that it can actually bend. Doesn't need to be a lot, maybe 8 points is fine. So we've got a little bend in it. Let's do like a 30-degree bend. And if we copy these to points, we should see that they're mostly doing some interesting things, but they're going to kind of go all over the place. So this is the same issue we had before with the up. However, what we could do is I think we can do this scatter in a line, and we can say add attributes to existing point cloud, wire that into the second input, I believe. Oh, it's missing the point normals. That's fun. Right. Okay, we can just yeah, the point normals actually should sort of deal with the surface as it is. So let's see here. So now we have normals on these. Kind of doesn't matter if they need to actually go away from the surface and not be based on just the circular nature of it. So let's see here. Why are we missing point normals? You could measure the concavity angle to only get points on the outer edges. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you definitely could. I do want there to be the points all over it, but yeah, that's a good point. You could certainly do a whole bunch of different things. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. You could have it just be on the tips of those things. Yeah. Yeah, well, I want the spikes to be all over it, so it's going to be my own little design of a random cactus. Okay. Interesting. What's happening here? Did I even need to do this? Okay. Let's get in here and let's figure out some alignment stuff. So the forward direction, the normal direction is going to be in Y. No, we want that to be Z. And this can be in Y. Let's see how that's looking. And that seems to be a little bit better. Let me just see what it looks like if we do X, just out of curiosity. Oh, not doing anything. Okay, yeah, that's what we can mess with here. We can change the forward direction based on these here. So we could do X, oops, or Y. So Y is going to make them all kind of point upwards, right? And then what we could do from there. So now they should all be sort of going upwards as much as they can. And then what we could do is we could do a random rotation around that. So we could say, give it like a 10 degree, negative 10 degree kind of randomness around this, or even more. I mean, you can see that this is going to adjust them, but maybe 10 degrees is nice because it doesn't go too far off from it. It sort of stays in its own spot. You can also change the maximum random cone angle. So you could give it a little bit of randomness, like 12.5, sure. And yeah, we could go a little further, higher with these. We could, we could obviously scale them here. This is actually probably a good way that you'd want to use scale, right? We could also randomize that a little bit and put them between 0.75 and 1 maybe. So maybe you get a bunch of different like random scales. Let's see what this is looking like overall. I'm just going to control click on that and turn this off. Those are probably a little too big. So let's play with these a little bit. Oh yeah, Saint Peter. Yeah, San Pedro means Saint Peter. That is funny. That is funny. Certainly not this guy. Different one. Better watch out or I'll make tea out of me. Oh my gosh. This is like these real crime shows that my wife watches where people are making, gosh, I feel like I've learned way too much about the craziness of humans from these shows. I don't know if anybody else ever watches true crime stuff, but boy, some of those are just wild. Just wild. Oh, also I should share, I don't kill the cactus. Okay, that's good. That's good. Sounds like you'd have to kill it to do that, but something I just said reminded me of Bob Ross, which reminded me that was what I was doing last week. It was my wife's birthday last week at one point, and so we actually did a Bob Ross painting together, which was really fun. Also really hard, like really hard. But it turned out a lot better than we both thought. And we each were good at different parts of it. Like she was really good at the mountains and I did a little bit, I did a pretty nice job with the trees. I'm also not I'm not artistic in that sense. So it was very wild to be doing it. And it was fun. It was cool. It was we got easels and paints, and here's her first time doing oil paints. So it was a lot of fun. I will not share her work online because she, as a perfectionist artist, is embarrassed of her work, but it was very fun and we both had a good time and learned a lot of cool things, and maybe we'll do it again. I don't know. Definitely was an interesting experience. So oil paints, man, they are wild. If you've ever worked with them, whew, crazy. Okay, so we've got some spikes on this thing. We could turn those into a what do I want to say? Into actual geometry, right? I'm just gonna make them null here and just say out spikes. Actually spines. They smell good. Linseed oil is nice. Yeah, it is an interesting smell. Our basement definitely smells very strange. So it's funny because my father-in-law is like he's a mechanical engineer, but he worked with he worked at a spine splines. Yeah, that's true. There's spine splines. I'm gonna call him that. So my father-in-law was a mechanical engineer. He worked at chemical companies. It's a wonderful thing. He made countertops. That was his thing. He made Corian countertops. So that was his big thing. But so he knows a ton about like chemistry and chemicals and stuff. And so we were telling him about, we're working with these oils, and he knows all about, paint thinners and all these things. And we were telling him about it. He's like, it's super safe. You don't have to worry about anything. He's like, everything's good. Like the paints, like they tell you, like if you get paint on like your rags, like make sure you like put them in the right storage containers and all this stuff, or put them in, on a flat concrete, in the driveway to dry, or, wherever, different things like that. And he's like, you don't have to do that. That's silly. He's like, everything's safe unless he's like, the only one that's like not safe is linseed oil. And we're like, well, that's what we were using. So, yeah. so then he was like, oh yeah, you do have to be kind of careful with that one. So we were laughing because he was like, no big deal, except for the one thing you were using. So we thought that was pretty funny because he's pretty nonchalant about it all. Anyways, so yeah, that was last week. So if you're wondering why I wasn't online, that was the reason. Okay. So, what do we got here? So we've got all this stuff happening. What do we want to do with it? So I have... Okay, let's do this. Let's make it... So I have this little... The light was the other little thing here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to render this with some sort of light thing. So we're going to do a little bit of Solaris, and we'll do that. So let's see what we can't do and make this fun. So we've got our cactus here, or these are our splines. And let's maybe think about how we could do this. Do these should have P scale on them, right? I think, yeah, P scale. Good. Okay, all looking good. Okay. All right, so here's what I am going to do. I am going to say, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say out proxy splines. We'll use those as our proxy geo. And then I am going to get another thing here. Just clear this out. I'm going to get all the surfaces here that we're going to use. I normally wouldn't do it this way, probably, like with these object merges, but I'm just kind of like, things are kind of all over the place here. So we're just going to make it a little bit easier, maybe for ourselves. And then we can also grab the out spine splines. There we go. And so let's say out render geo. Okay, cool. So this is going to be our render geometry. This is going to be our proxy geometry, and you'll see what that'll look like in a little bit. But those will be helpful for us. Get render geo. Cool. Okay, so let's go up here. I'm just going to make a LOP network at this level. So let's say we're just going to call this Solaris, just so everybody knows where we're going. Cool. All right, let's go inside. All right. So, what do we want to do here? Let's do we're going to do a component builder. And actually, this is going to work out pretty nice for us, because what we can do is we can do an external SOP network for this here. So normally the internal SOP network is maybe where you would do this stuff. So you'd have your default, your proxy, and your sim proxy. The component builder is a way to make USD assets really easily. So this is like, if you're getting into USD, I always recommend this. Oh, sorry. You have to go into Solaris. So what I did was I went into LOP network. Oh, the only thing is depends on what version you have, but I really doubt you're using a version old enough to not have the component builder. So what I did is I dropped on this LOP network here because this is going to go into another context. Right now we're in objects. So this is an object context. This here, if we go inside of it, is geometry / SOPs context. And then this is going to be LOPs or Solaris. And so we drop down a LOP network and dive inside of it. And in there, you should be able to find the component builder. If not, kind of depends on what version you're using. This I'm using version 21. So yeah, if you're not in 21, then that might be a... Oh, you did LOP import. Got it. Yep. No problem. There you go. All good. Okay, so what we can do with this is we can set our render, which we're going to say out render geo, and our proxy. I think we should have. Oh, I need to put some p scale on those spines. That's right. And our proxy is going to be the out proxy splines. There we go. And yeah, that's funny looking. All right, so we're gonna come in here and we're gonna we'll leave that on. Just trying to think here because these lines are too wide. Why are they too wide? Okay, let's just come back over here. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this viewport. If you've never done this before, you can pin it. So let's do that. And we're going to jump back over here. And I'm just going to see if I can't make this a little bit more reasonable. Let's see. I don't know why that's so wide, but it might be that the P scale is a radius and this is assuming a width. And so it's double, right? That could be it. So let's do an attribute adjust float, which again is by default adjusting P scale. So let's just do that. And we'll do a multiply by, let's try 0.5. Nope. All right, let's just play with this, get it to where it's sort of doing the right thing. I don't know why 0.2 would be it. That seems a little strange, but sure, that's relatively right. So the tops aren't going to be rounded because that rounding is actually being done by the sweep. But you can see here that we're getting some visualization of what it would be. The other thing we can also do is we can add a color onto this. Do this as like a, I don't know, like a darkish green color, just to give ourselves some visual representation there. All right, I'm going to come back over here and unpin this. So now we have those sort of in its kind of in a proxy state, right? What you can do is with these little glasses, we can change it to preview. We can also change it to final render. And okay, yeah, that's way skinnier than it should be. So let's just tweak that one more time. Let's go back up here. Yeah, that's probably better. I think we can actually change this. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Not sure why it's doing that. That's a little odd, but anyways, just leave it as it is. It's good for now. We're not really doing anything overly crazy here. So, and these are just making kind of these like oriented to camera ribbons that you can see, just for a reference. This is obviously not going to be what the final render is. All right, cool. So let's go back to Solaris. There we go. Let's take a look at our final rendered geometry. That's our geometry. Oh yeah, that's right. I need to add some widths to that. Oh, actually, I could probably adjust that here. So if we set the missing widths, is that going to adjust our spines? No, it's not. So this set missing widths would be adjusting for that P scale so that it is actually doing something proper, but not seeing that working. Let me just turn on CPU for a second here. Don't see that. Yep. Okay. That's fine. Let's go into those points. I'm just going to pin this again, and we're going to come back over here and let's see. I can just add that right here. Let's just do an attribute adjust. Oh, actually, let's do a... We can actually just do it here. Let's do a... Nope, sorry. Resample here. And we don't need to change that, but we're going to output the curve view. And we are going to remap. Keep typing the wrong thing. We're going to remap that, just kind of like we've been doing before. Curve view, p-scale. Now, the reason I'm going to do it at this point here is that we can do it at this level because it's going to get copied to points. Like, it's getting copied to all the points. So I think this will be fine. I don't think we really need to worry too much about this. So I'm just going to make these little spikes like so. And, oh yeah, they're the wrong direction, right? So it needs to just flip for us here. So that should be at 0. These should be like something like that. Oh, you know, actually that's looking just fine. Cool. It's a little bit stylized, but you know, whatever. It's cool. Got some spikes on there, looking nice. Some sharp little spines. Cool. Okay, now what I'm seeing here, just so you know, is the CPU render. Now, if we look back at these in here, you'll see that we actually have the spine showing up as kind of that same flat ribbon representation. Again, this is pinned, so we're looking at this in Solaris, not in the SOP context. So here we go. We're in Solaris. We have our asset here that's getting built. I'm going to call this cactus, like so. And when we look at this component output down here, you can see we have our little cactus, and we've got our proxy and render in there. Oops. And we've got everything kind of built in. Now, these shapes are named that way because they are not, there's no names on them. If we had names in the SOP geometry, when we brought it over here, we would see those names, but we don't really need to worry too much about it. It's fine. We know it's the cactus geometry. There's two things. There's one that's a mesh, and the spines are going to be separate. And these other ones are all spines. I wonder if Bob Ross ever painted a happy little cactus. I don't know. I don't think so. He liked mountains. I don't think he did any cactus. I've never seen him do any cactus, but I would love to know that. That would be great. If you ever did like something shockingly different, that would be very fun. Okay, so let's take this material library. Let's delete it. What we're going to do is we're going to add a quick surface material here, and that's going to add this in. And we're just going to call this cactus body, I think. And then let's add in another one, surface material. And we're going to call this cactus spines. So these are going to be two materials that we're making here. And we can assign them in this component material. So let's do that. So what we want to do here is let's open our render geometry. Oh, I don't know who Frank Frazetta is. That's a new name for me. Do that, and we'll do cactus body. And then this shape 1 is going to be our spines, and we'll just do that like so. Okay. So now we should have some materials applied on here. The cactus body, we can just get in here and start like getting into some green color here, and just, actually it's like kind of this like lightish, like weird kind of greeny kind of color like that, right? It's kind of in there. It's actually even like a little more like brown. Kind of an ugly color when you look at it. 80s fantasy art. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay, so here's our cactus spines. Let's make these like just like a little bit like of a grayish color, but let's also turn, maybe we'll just turn the subsurface on for fun with those. That could be kind of interesting. Let's see here. What do we want to do with this? Let's do well, we can actually turn on a work light here. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the physical sky. We'll do that and go to Karma CPU. Actually, this is going to need to be turned on like so. There we go. So now we're getting our Karma physical sky. And what we could do is we can go into here, right click and get into our properties, and we can adjust, you know, the exposure and brightness and things like that. So we can kind of up the exposure of this maybe to around 1-ish. You should see that these little spines have some subsurface to them now, at least they should. So they're getting some neat little kind of glowy weirdness, not glowy, but like some little color to them. So that's kind of interesting. We could also, let's see. Let's do this. We're just going to add, I'm just going to add a grid below here. So this is going to be our component, right? So we're just going to leave that like that. This is going to make our component. And then we can add a grid to this to like make a ground plane, right? So let's make a happy little grid here. All right. We're getting our cactus going here. Looking nice. Oh, you know what we can do? We can right click on this, go properties, show as background image. There we go. That's just the physical sky background, but you can see it there. All right. We could also go into Karma XPU if you wanted to, if you've got a better GPU than, oh, right. So each of these selections are per render, like viewport. We call these render delegates, but per viewport renderer. Interesting. Okay, so there is a big difference between the two. It looks like the spines, because they're curves, the subsurface is not supported on that I can see. It doesn't look like. So it looks like the subsurface value is just not going to work there. And also, why is it not panning around that? That's really annoying. Huh. Weird. Oh, fun. There we go. That's a cool one. That's a cool bug. Exciting. What an exciting bug we have found. Guess this scene might be making its way to the development team to see what the heck is going on there. Okay. Anyways, there we go. So we have our cactus. We've got our ground plane here. Oh, linking the materials again. Sorry, I didn't see your question there. Yeah, the materials are in here. This is how we do it. And you basically can just drag and drop these. So like you have your render shapes that you want to use and you've got your materials, and you can just drag and drop them like that. You could also assign it to this proxy. Like you should be able to assign this and this, like so. But it really doesn't matter because whenever you render, it's going to always take the render geometry, right? So like, that's really not going to do you any good, really. So I'll just turn that off. But you could, I guess, do that if you wanted to force it. I guess, yeah, I guess that's true. Sorry. You can force it for this if you're rendering. That looks so funny. That looks ridiculous. So yeah, I guess technically you could do this and it would work for it like so. Oh right, I've got a really high specular material on this, so that's kind of silly. Let's do the final render here and let's turn the specular way down on this, or actually just turn the roughness up. So the spines, sorry, I'm just going to look at these real quick, make sure don't have like a crazy amount of specular highlighting on these. Interesting. Yeah, so the assignment for that was in here. this one here, the shape. So you can see here that this is curves and this is geometry down here. Actually, I think I can do this. Ooh, fancy. So this one here, the shape 0 is this is the mesh and these are the curves, right? And so that's what you want to obviously assign the body to the mesh and the spines to the shape, this shape one here. If you renamed those, it would be a lot easier to use. God, I'd love to see UI refresh at some point in Houdini. Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. Okay, so here we go. We've got these. Now, I was thinking about the light part of it. What could we do for the light part? Maybe what we can do is... Oh man, don't try to get anything about any new Houdini versions out of me. I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Okay, so let's do copy to points here. My top Houdini UI request is the back and forward buttons on my mouse don't work. What would you want them to do? What would a back and forward button do in Houdini? Yeah, you definitely should request that, but I'm not sure that... Oh, if you're using Karma XPU, the spines are going to be like black like that, you know, because XPU has different rules. Oh, you're saying you'd want them to map to these buttons? Interesting. I don't ever use those buttons. Huh. Is that up and down? Or just to the previous? It's just the previous thing you were at, right? I guess I never really used those. Right, because it's like a navigational thing. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. You should RFE it. Go for it. Okay. So what we want to maybe do here is copy these to a bunch of points. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this into the instancer, which you can call copy to points. You know, you can copy to points just like you would in there's an alias for it. So you can copy to points. And so inside of here, we could just add a big grid, right? So this is going to be all the points that we want to instance onto. So here's our grid. I'm going to do the same thing, which was 100 by 100 grid, and do a scatter. And we get a bunch of points. If we come back up here, we should see that we're going to get a bunch of cactus at those points. Sorry, cacti, I guess. So I'm just going to put this in line here. This first input is your input stage. So that just basically means like any other assets that are coming in. Now we want to instance this cactus, so that goes into our instancing input there. Oh, I made that grid even bigger. How big is this grid? 100. So it's, oh, it's actually 1,000, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's 1,000. Because it was 10 by default, and if I go 100 bigger, then that is 1,000. Not that it matters, it's just going to scatter them out further. But yeah, now you're going to get a bunch of instances here. So let's go to like, I don't know, do like 5,000 on that scatter. Just loading them all up there. So this is where kind of the nice part comes in. Like if you want to change this over to your preview, this is going to be a lot snappier than your final render is going to be, because it's got less stuff that needs to be, like it doesn't have all these little individual spines and stuff like that it needs to work with. So if you do the preview, you're going to get a much snappier viewport response. So just keep that in mind. Sorry, you probably don't want to have that on rendering while you're doing this. But this gives you a sense of what these things are going to look like. And then in here we could do, the same thing. We could pin this viewport. We come in here and we could do, actually we could use a scatter and a line instead of that, because it really doesn't matter. We could just scatter onto this surface. Sometimes I get a little funky about get a little weird about this, but oh, cancel. I forgot that this is going to be a coverage and density is going to be insane. See, this is why I don't like scattering a line. I knew I didn't like it. I knew it. Can we make the Joshua Tree Park next? Yeah, we'll just make the whole park. No worries. Just do it super quick. It does have a desert scene on the node. Yes, it does. It's got cactus right there. It's just ready to be a cactus. All right. We're going to take a quick break here because I broke everything. You attempted? Oh no. Did I crash? I crashed your computer. Sorry. I sometimes I'm a little too gung ho with some of these things, and I should not have done what I did there. All right. Let's see. Are we back? Yes, we're back in business. Okay. The reason I like doing it this way is because I can just keep these point numbers and just add attributes, and that's really all I need to do. Is just add some attributes to this. And so let's see here. Let's add some normals so we can rotate around these normals. We can up the max scale, reduce the min scale. So now we can make some random scaled cactuses, and then we can rotate this randomly and get some random rotation in here, like so. And now we've got all of these guys all over the place here. And if we go to we don't even have to change over to our final render. We can keep this just on preview. If we come over here to Karma CPU, we can drop it in, and now these should all be rotated in different kind of hello. Hello there. Oh man, we've got Mops in the house. Mr. Toadstorm, how's it going? It's funny that you're on that account commenting. Hello. Welcome. Anyways, yes, you could do that with Mops too. Yeah, so we've got all these here. Now, I was thinking maybe what I could do is do some random like illumination of these or something weird like that. I'm gonna have to think about that. They all disappeared when I did scatter and align with add attribute. Interesting. That's strange. I'm not sure why that would be. You can always take a look at this HIP file afterwards. It'll be available online, and you can grab these and do all of that. You can take a look at everything that we've been doing here. I'm trying to think what we could do with like some illumination stuff, because like if we were instancing like lights, we could do that. I'm gonna make tea out of your HIP file. This T thing, I don't understand. We're getting out of control with it. Yeah, I could make the spines glow. I do like that idea. Yeah, let's do that at least. Let's see. So instead of doing, So instead of doing this cactus spines here with subsurface, I'm gonna turn that off. And let's grab the emission. Turn that on. Hello. And cool. Okay. And what we can actually do here. All right, I'm gonna just grab this grid again, just so we can see it on this one. I'm actually gonna turn the lights off. I'm gonna turn this back to the scene lights. And what I think I'm gonna do is, yeah, let's do a karma physical sky. I think if we just take the altitude down really low, we can get like a nice, like almost like sunset-y kind of thing going on here. And now we have all of these guys kind of glowing. Getting some glow out of those. We could also adjust these and make them make them brighter. And what we could do as well is probably we could use this color primvar and we could use that. So let's try that real quick. I've got this pinned here, so that should be fine. And what I'm going to do is add a color here. And we can just do, let's see, we're just going to make this red. And let me just go back over here and see if this will come up. Ah, that's a bummer. Okay, so the way you would check this out is if you'd come over here, you could select your object and you can look down here and you can see. Oh, right. It gets renamed. Sorry, my bad. So CD gets renamed to display color. So that is what we need to use for it. So let's go over here and we can just grab this. There we go. We're getting the highlighting and I'm going to try to turn that off. There we go. Okay, so we just put display color down there and that's going to give us that. So now if we come back over to this and just do some, we'll just do random. Why not? We could also do attribute adjust color instead. And what that would, I think, give us is we could do, you can do a remap attribute and you could randomize it, you know, from some sort of value, right? So you could have a random from value or whatever and go across that ramp. Is this one? I don't know. It does have a ramp from an attribute. So what we could do here is we could just do, we'll just do random. That's fine. I could throw an attribute in here and do a bunch of stuff, but it's not really. Yeah, you could use curve view if you wanted to. I don't think that that's going to be super useful in this case, because I'm not sure even if these curve views are all unique or not. Yeah, I guess they are. I mean, you could certainly then do it like random from curve U. And then they're going to be random from that. And let's just do like, we could do our infrared one. There you go. You're going to get these kind of crazy. Yeah. Yeah. You could do a top to bottom ramp weirdness thing. You could also do random from attribute and maybe do that from the curve view. And you'd get some, you're only going to get 2 colors from that because of it's just a 0 to 1 attribute and it's just rounding it to integer values. Anyways, sure. There we go. We got that. And so what we can do here is now if we obviously use this copy to points here and just instance that a bunch. Gonna have all these crazy random glowy cactuses all over the place. And it's gonna instance those values. The other thing that you probably wanna do is right in here, before we get to this component output, right? This is outputting that little special component geometry for us that we're going to use to instance all around. Like this is basically, you can think of this top part here as like the asset that we're creating, right? Before we finish completing this asset, what you might want to do is do a geometry light here, and we could actually probably turn these basis curves. We'll just drag and drop that in there into actual lights, right? And now what we could do is instead of having to change the emission on these and all that stuff, we can actually, you can see that this is now changed over into an actual light bulb down here. And so that's what, that's actually going to be telling Solaris some things like, hey, these are lights and you can use them with light mixers and blah, 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 that type of thing. And so this here just basically says the material glow tints the light, and we're adding this light, and now we're all good. We've got different karma settings and things like that you might want to use. I'm not going to get into all that craziness, but yeah, this is just a little mad because there's another node in here, but we haven't done anything that should mess with that, I don't think. Oh, that's weird. Maybe if I put this up here instead, is that gonna like it any better? Okay, that's the thing then. So you actually want to put it up here. My bad. I think the reason is this component output is doing some other fancy stuff within it. And now we can see here that it has the light still in it. So I guess you want to do it up here where you're messing with the geometry. Just a little bit of a cleaner way in the USD world of doing this. So that should do it. And now we're able to instance all these lights all over the place and get them all going. Why was that set to instanceable references? That's interesting. So this instanceable so basically this little method here, it's kind of these top 3 go in order of speed, and then the rest of them are kind of equivalent after that. But really, most of the time you'd probably want a point instancer. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, that's strange. I don't know why that would be the case. And the real difference there is if you look at this, you can see that, sorry, just looking to make sure that I have this properly done. Yeah, it's looks right, more or less. You can uncheck this use entire stage as prototypes, and that'll basically just make sure that you're not, it's keeping this cactus name basically, just a little cleaner looking. And you could just say cactus instances, and now you'll see that there's cactus instances in that little setup there. And obviously this hierarchy is nothing. Like you really would want to actually go in and change some of the hierarchy. Like here, you'd probably want to at least do like geometry like that. And then this is going to go into lights. Then this grid might you might actually call it ground. And then this one here, I again would add a geometry onto the front of that. And that's just making sure that your hierarchy is a little bit nicer here and you've got some just doing some things with this. You can also add like a scene or a world primitive up above it for even a little bit more organization. So you could do this, and then here you could add /scene, and then here you can add /scene. If you're curious about all of this like weird Solaris USD stuff, and you're like, that's kind of interesting, but I don't get it. There's a great like USD for the solo artist. You can find it on the side effects tutorial gallery thing, the learning library, or I can't remember what we're calling it right now, but it's a great video, and there's actually kind of a series of them. There's like asset building, and I think there's another one too. I can't remember what the other one is, but they're really good because they kind of simplify some stuff that solo artists would use, that or like techniques that solo artists would use that might not be something that like Solaris is like always the absolute like best for, and helps like kind of focus and simplify how you might use Solaris. So I think it's a really nice video series to get into it. But there we go. There was our little cactus that we did with some lights on it. We'll thank the dice for their help tonight. Yeah, it was fun. Maybe we'll do that again sometime. But yeah, our little dice. There we go. But yeah, hopefully that was a fun little procedural modeling. And then into Solaris. Hopefully that was kind of a fun little experiment to play around with. It's really nice that my computer doesn't freak out with rendering anymore, which I'm very thankful for. That's interesting. So just remember that when you switch your different, these like render delegates here, they do remember this. So this remembers that I had this physical sky on. So I need to turn my scene work lights back on. So if you ever see any little red dots here, that's what that means basically, is that you've got a like a render or a viewport override on. Like if I turned off materials, you'd see this little red dot there. So just something to keep in mind. And yeah, this is the XPU render, and it renders really quickly. Now, obviously it's very noisy right now, but yeah, there you go. Someone was asking me if I have information about side effects regarding AI driven user interfaces in the future. I will not comment on that because I will not comment on anything that's in the future. But I think side effects is taking a very measured approach to all of the insane hype that's been happening and things of that nature. So we're going to take a very measured approach to it and be mindful of things that are appropriate to do and not appropriate to do. And yeah, certainly there are people within side effects that are working towards how we might implement that stuff in the future. For sure, we're looking at it, we're thinking about it, but side effects is definitely trying to take our time and take their time and be very focused with what they're doing. So it is not going to be a rush thing. It's not going to be anything like that. So yeah, I'll just say that I can't see myself. I wouldn't be able to see myself working for a company that was shoving AI down people's throats, basically. So yeah, anyways. Yes. Oh, Maitland, that's cool. Oh yeah, that's true. I do have a series of rendering videos that I made that are basically kind of based on the there's a Karma user guide in the user in the user manual in the help section. And so that is basically what I made the whole course on, and yeah, it gives you a lot of really cool little insight into ways of making your renders a little bit more efficient, things like that. So yeah, lots of different techniques. So I'm glad those worked out for you. Very cool. Very cool. Nice. Well, thanks. I appreciate that, Maitland. It's not like anything groundbreaking, but it certainly gives you insight into how Karma specifically works, and hopefully can illuminate some of the help you get through some of those things. But cool. All right. Well, I think we are getting to the end here. And so with that, I will say thank you all for being around and chatting and sticking with me as I did my little random dice test here. See how this goes. Yeah, maybe we should do some Copernicus next week. I forget who mentioned that, but throw that in the topic suggestion thing so I can remember that. Because this week I was like, I don't know. Nothing was like standing out to me. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do something random. But yeah, we could maybe do some Copernicus. I'm not certainly I don't know it that well, but we could maybe come up with some stuff. I've done a little bit of Copernicus in the past, but yeah, that could be a fun thing to do. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thank you for being here, for chatting. It's always nice to hear from all of you. And yeah, it's not as fun to do this without you guys here chatting. So thanks so much. And yeah, I will see you guys all next time. And yeah, just keep an eye out for the Discord server, HoudiniHangout.com. You can get an invite there if you'd like to join. But yeah, keep an eye on that and I'll announce whatever the next thing is I'm doing. So awesome. Thanks everybody. Really nice to chat with you all and talk to you next time. See ya.